Dealing with different personalities, minor conflicts, organizational struggles, and other normal parts of being with other people is sometimes difficult. I longed, when I was younger, for walks in the woods or the sound of the waves on an uncrowded beach, finding in the solitude of wild places a sense of the eternal and the peaceful. Joining a community meant encountering a lot of real people, not ideal people, people who have strong personalities, people who have strong opinions, people who see the glass half empty, people who are firmly convinced that the glass is half full. And in our case, people who are asking, why aren't we serving a full glass of water to those who need it? Real people in community run the full gamut of personality, temperament, belief, identity, background, ambition, agendas, and so many other ways of being human. Better to keep to the solitude of the path in the woods, I thought when I was younger. Yes, I contributed to organizations and had friends. I'd belonged to clubs and performed in school plays. It was just that being in community puzzled me as a younger person. I just could not imagine a community where I would fit in. Having grown up in the Deep South, community was usually referring to sports or church. Church meant community that was a version of conservative Christianity that held no appeal to me. Even attending a big university did not qualify as community for me. I was there to earn an education, though I did make friends for life. The university was a large organization and did not have the sense of reciprocity that is necessary for a sense of community. Besides, it's difficult to feel fully connected to 20,000 people, or at least it was for me. Being part of a Unitarian Universalist congregation brought me into a community of choice, a community of people with whom I felt safe, shared values, and could grow. Perhaps that speaks to your journey in some way. It seemed that this community was worthy of that personality, temperament, belief, identity, background, ambition, agendas, and so many other ways of being human that I struggled to work with. Unitarian Universalism was worth the effort of being in community. The church made a difference in my life and in the lives of others. The church made a difference in advocating for a more just and equitable world, the larger community. Belonging does not mean that everyone knows your name, but it does mean connection. That connection does not mean being known. It might just be a sense of being part of something greater than oneself. You feel connected even if you're not talking or interacting much. You know that this community makes you feel like you are beyond merely a number, that your journey is shared. I know that there are people who rarely speak or attend social events and Unitarian Universalist congregations that I have served, who felt connected through so many ways to the congregation. There are people who rarely attend or are involved who support a Unitarian Universalist congregation. When I have spoken to people like that about their connection with the church, I have often heard them say something like, I don't feel like attending, but just knowing that the church is there gives me strength and hope, so I support it. A Unitarian Universalist church is a place that gives comfort and sometimes discomfort. It is a community that examines different aspects of religion, challenges social injustice, makes music. Each person feels isolated at times, even if one is in a crowded classroom or a bus. Being around other people by itself does not mean community, though. Being part of a Unitarian Universalist congregation means committing to the ideals of the sacred community. These ideals are not ones of theological belief, but an ethos of interaction and relationship to the church and to the larger world. Though each member of a Unitarian Universalist congregation might have issue with some of the purposes and principles, there's always the feeling that at least some of them speak to individuals, certainly some more than others. When I joined the Unitarian Universalist Church of Chattanooga, I was euphoric for quite a long time. That congregation was the kind of community I always longed to join. It was a place where differences in theological belief were affirmed, where women held leadership positions, where social justice was important. They were also socially liberal, and I never thought that a church with social liberals could possibly exist in the South. It was so different from anything that could be found anywhere else. Sometimes belonging to a Unitarian Universalist congregation is like that. Even after all these 33 years, I am still taken with that feeling that we are different, and that is a good thing. Belonging also means staying with the congregation when it is difficult. In every congregation, there are hard times. This is the history of every Unitarian Universalist congregation I have served. Yet members weathered those times and stayed the course. At times, members who have belonged to this church will speak of those who have passed on. Listen deeply for those moments. Those who have been committed to the church are sharing a part of this community. They are carrying the institutional memory, reminding we who are new that we are also a connection to those who came before. Belonging means being connected to a vision of those who will belong in the future when we think of the present. This might not be apparent to everyone. One of the differences in the life of this church since moving from the previous building is that sometimes it's difficult to realize what is happening. In the past, one could walk through the church building and know that activity was happening. Activity was obvious. It was probably true that on certain nights, it could be difficult to find an empty room because there was so much activity. Now that activity happens online. Though groups in the church do make efforts to communicate, sometimes important information is lost if one is not checking the many forms of social media currently available. So I want to share with you some of the ways that people in this congregation are endeavoring to move us forward. The Developmental Ministry Task Force is planning to assess the congregation for living in covenant. In the next church year, that task force will use the results of the assessment along with a transitional plan to act on the assessment's findings. We will also explore ways to develop relationships with other institutions in the larger community. The membership committee is exploring the idea of using social media to reach out to a younger demographic and to the people described as nuns, not the Catholic, nuns from the Catholic Church. Nuns, N-O-N-E-S, are people who do not affiliate with any religious body. They tend to be people who have eclectic spirituality or are skeptics, who affirm diversity and social justice, and they are the fastest growing religious segment of the American population. At least some of them might be interested in a Unitarian Universalist church like this one. No decision or plan has been reached, but the congregation should know that we are exploring new possibilities for outreach and growth. The membership committee also works with church family to provide for congregant support needs for those in difficult situations. Members of the congregation went to Harrisburg to advocate for gun violence prevention. This is one of many initiatives the Social Justice Committee has been working on and will be continuing. I cannot name all the things that social justice is working on. It's a very active committee and they're doing wonderful things. The Multicultural Committee considers issues like anti-racism and anti-oppression, as well as leading worship services during the church year. The congregation has a group of members who are working for children's programming. They are planning for more focused programming and events in the future. The Breakfast Forum presents programming on Sunday mornings before the worship service. The programs are often on eclectic subjects, but are always relevant to Unitarian Universalist values. The music program presents us with music, moving moments in our Sunday services. They are always relevant and reflect the theme of the worship experience. We are grateful to Larry Lifkus, the choir, and direct guest musicians for giving their time and attention to enrich our worship experience. The Finance Committee meets every month to review the church's money investments, potential plans, and look toward the future. This is not a very public group in terms of visibility, but its work ensures that everything runs smoothly. They enable most of the congregation's programs to function. The pastoral care team reaches out to members and friends who are in mental or spiritual crisis or just need contact. The worship committee plans the schedule of services with the minister and coordinates services when the minister is away. The Committee on Shared Ministry is a communication channel between the congregation and the minister and strives to develop and sustain a healthy ministry at this congregation. The Hospitality Committee arranges for volunteers for Sunday morning flowers and coffee hour snacks. The audio-visual team helps make the technical aspects of Sunday services possible. Their work is often stressful due to the circumstances of our current venue. Put simply, when we walk in on Sunday mornings, we never know what might have been changed with the technology that we use at the Lehigh Valley Active Life Center. We should all be especially grateful to every person who has given time to this effort. It is an ongoing, stressful thing, and people bear it very well. The relocation committee is seeking a new venue for the congregation. It is clear that the Lehigh Valley Active Life Center is a place to land, but will not meet the long-term objectives for the congregation. We are grateful for their service and hopeful that they will find something. The e-news team dispatches timely information to friends and members of the congregation on a regular basis. There are members who are planning to install a church management software in the next year. We're getting a program that will help the congregation access information better and will be connected to the church's website. The stewardship committee is charged with the overall welfare and well-being of the church by soliciting both financial and volunteer work contributions from church members during the annual stewardship campaign, which begins in 25 minutes. The Safety Committee is developing a plan to deal with any interruptive or violent action during a Sunday service. It is sad that this is needed, but we live in challenging times. The Program Council is the committee of committees. It is a meeting of the chairs of committees to coordinate the ministry of the congregation and to inform leadership of any pertinent issues. Last but certainly not least, the board is the governing body of the church, and it meets once a month. The week before the monthly board meeting, an executive team of the board meets to set the board agenda. Then there are things done by staff, some of which I imagine that most people are unaware of. Our Zoom jockey, Mariana Zimmer, makes hybrid services possible every week and a full service today. Mariana lives out of state and grew up in this congregation. We are grateful to her for making Sundays online possible. Kate McDevitt is our social media coordinator and a Unitarian Universalist residing in Virginia. Kate manages the congregation's website, Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and other online presence. Kate Scuffle is our congregation's church administrator. It is difficult to describe this position because I know that I would forget something. She handles administrative details that are often not always obvious or visible. Whenever a minister does something like discussing the operations of a congregation, it is inevitable that something will be left out. Count on it. For anything that was not mentioned, I sincerely apologize. It is important, though, to acknowledge that this church, its members, friends, and staff are very busy. Everything that happens is not always obvious. One can no longer walk down the hall of the church building to hear groups of people buzzing about. It is significant that you know that the church works hard to provide the services of ministry. We are planning for the future. For all involved, it is imperative that Unitarian Universalism thrives in the Lehigh Valley. This is the stewardship message. Talking about money is something that makes some of us uncomfortable. Perhaps it is because some religious institutions constantly bombard their adherents with appeals for cash. Perhaps that discomfort derives from personal memories of family arguments about money. And in relationships, historically, most arguments between married couples have been about money. Also, we all know of supposed religious leaders who inveigle from their followers huge sums, fly in their own jets, and drive around in limousines and Ferraris. This congregation is not like that. I have a new Subaru, but I don't have a private jet. So I don't have that much from that. The finances of this congregation are publicly available. This congregation's finances are not just for the congregation. 2/3 of the money given in the Sunday offering goes to those charitable institutions, organizations that serve this area and even around the world. We are concerned about the larger world in our community as well. Every day of the week, every week of the year, people in this congregation are creating a better world, serving the values of Unitarian Universalism. We are making a difference, and we will make a difference in this region, and sometimes as far as other continents. Because we are a community and many of us have committed to giving, belonging has given meaning to you. Belonging to a Unitarian Universalist congregation is important. No institution does what a Unitarian Universalist church does. We are about spiritual exploration in a wide diversity of options, creativity, community, social justice, building the beloved community, and so much more. When you give to a Unitarian Universalist church, you affirm that you belong to a community that is so much greater than its mission than anyone could be alone. I hope that you can give generously to the best of your ability for the future of this congregation. I hope that supporting it makes you feel like you feel part of something greater than you would be alone. I'm going to end this message today with a poem by Rosemary Watola Tromer. In preparation for this message, I picked up a volume of modern poetry that I purchased a few months ago, but had never looked through before. I dropped the book a couple of days ago, and when I picked it up, I found it open to this poem. It conveys in fewer words more than I could speak to you today. It is about being alone and together. Credit luck or the Holy Spirit as you will. It seems to be the right thing to end with. Appropriately, the poem is entitled Belonging. Tromer writes, and if it's true we are alone together. The way blades of grass are alone, but exist as a field. Sometimes I feel it, the green fuse that ignites us of our shared humanity. just as 35 trillion red blood cells join in one body to become one blood, just as 136,000 notes make up one symphony. Alone as we are, our small voices weave into one big conversation. Our actions are essential to the infinite story of what it is to be alive. When we feel alone, we are the dust that hopes, a rising of dust, a thrill of dust, the dust that dances in the light with all the other dust, the dust that makes the world. May we join as one in giving to a congregation that joins our voices and speaks to that which is about our shared humanity, that which is the infinite story, that which is good, that is which is worthy of the big conversation. May we give to that to which we belong. So be it. Blessed be. Amen.